British fashion designer Vivienne Westwood brought provocative to fashion, utilising the influence of the 1970s punk era. The self-taught designer used her designs, platform and voice to advocate for what she believed in. Outspoken, political and a rebel, Vivienne Westwood was original and never afraid to challenge the status quo. After passing away in December 2022, her legacy lives on. Please subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on future videos. Let's take a closer look. Vivienne Westwood and her partner, Malcom McLaren, sold second-hand 1950s vintage clothing and rock and roll records from a London boutique known initially as Let It Rock.
Actually, I started fashion to help my boyfriend. He just needed somebody to help him to make these clothes.
The shop went through several name changes, including Too Fast to Live, Too Young to Die, Sex, and finally Seditionaries. Throughout the 1970s, the store became a meeting point and an incubator for London's punk movement, and became a fashion mecca for young people who were into their provocative style. They sold customised ripped t-shirts emblazoned with anti-establishment slogans and graphics, and bondage pieces including shirts resembling straitjackets and black trousers featuring emphasised straps inspired by sadomasochistic costumes. The English punk band The Sex Pistols was founded by Malcom McLaren in the mid-70s and was named to help advertise the boutique with Vivienne Westwood whilst it was under the name Sex. Many of their pieces were erotically charged or political, and this angered the British conservative press at the time. However, the couple were not perturbed, and soon after, Westwood and McLaren staged their first commercial ready-to-wear collection called Pirates.
Many years, the newspapers thought of me as unwearable, nothing to do with fashion. English people are very snobby anyway. They don't like very artistic people to start with. They love me now.
In 1981, the couple ended their personal relationship, however they remained professional partners for an additional 5 years. Vivienne Westwood, who came from a working class background and was a school teacher before marrying and divorcing her first husband, Derek Westwood, in the early 60s, soon established her identity as a leading independent designer. Over the next 2 decades, Vivienne created collections that took inspiration from classical sources, such as the paintings of Jean-Honoré Fragonard and Thomas Gainsborough, as well as inspiration from historical British fashion, including the 19th century bustle, which Westwood incorporated under elaborate knitwear dresses and tartan miniskirts. She designed the mini crinny, a miniskirt with layers of a crinoline petticoat produced in both cotton and tweed that debuted as part of the Spring-Summer 1985 collection, and took a sexy twist on the ball gowns of past centuries. This marked a turning point for Vivienne Westwood as a leading designer and plunged her into the mainstream. She also designed twin sets and skirt suits that mocked the upper classes. Independently, Vivienne Westwood built her own self-titled mini-fashion empire, operating numerous boutiques designing ready-to-wear clothes, accessories and bridal wear. Vivienne Westwood also produced several menswear and womenswear collections each year. At her spring 1984 collection, she sent Kate Moss down the runway in a striped miniskirt while she covered her bare chest and ate a Magnum ice cream, a daring move that is unlikely to be repeated anytime soon. And at her autumn-winter 1993 show, she had models walk down the runway in super elevated platform heels. Naomi Campbell, who at the time was known as one of the Big Five supermodels, famously fell in the show. However, Vivienne Westwood confirmed that it wasn't Naomi's fault. Instead, it was more to do with the combination of rubber tights causing the shoes to slip, during a sit-down interview that she did with Naomi Campbell for British Vogue.
So I should have practiced more, because I know how to walk in your shoes now. There's a trick to walking in your shoes.
Let me tell you, stop. The reason you fell is because you had these rubber tights.
Yes,
and your thighs caught together, and so you wiggled on the shoe, and you only got to wiggle slightly, and you're over. Then we gave you a stick.
Yes.
And you did not use the stick. You went down the catwalk with a stick like this instead, just to show that you could not fall. Yeah.
Naomi Campbell's fall caused major publicity for Vivienne Westwood and captured a moment to remember. Vivienne Westwood was known for being provocative and often included political messages in her designs, shows, and commentary. She was pro-ethical issues, including ethical fashion, and supported the Green Party and even stripped off for PETA. However, she was also criticised for manufacturing clothes in China and her use of plastics and polyester. For the Vivienne Westwood Red Label Autumn-Winter 15 show, she had Vote Green emblazoned across the top of the show's notes. The manifesto went on to say that we are currently controlled by the 1% of the world's population who are in power, and so much more. For her Autumn-Winter 2015 menswear show, she sent models down the runway with severely bruised faces, channeling eco-warriors on a mission to save the planet, and she often mocked politicians, including Margaret Thatcher, the UK's first female Prime Minister. During Vivienne Westwood's career, she extended the influence of the 1970s punk movement into fashion and wasn't afraid to be bold. Her influence remains a staple during the 2000s, with her name featured in pop culture, such as in Gwen Stefani's Rich Girl song. I love this song, by the way, where Gwen Stefani sings, "Clean up Vivienne Westwood in my Galliano gown." And in Sex and the City, where Carrie Bradshaw famously wore a Vivienne Westwood wedding dress. On April 1st, 2004, an exhibition dedicated to her creations opened at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. Vivienne Westwood, 34 years in fashion, was the largest exhibition the museum had ever dedicated to a British designer. Her corsets have become a staple collection piece, even amongst Gen Z, and her intuition that fashion could be a platform for social change and activism, even a platform for social change and outrage, was a precursor to what is now referred to as streetwear and streetwear culture. Even in her later years, she sat at the front row of her brand's fashion shows, where daring historical and global costume-inspired shapes and designs remained evident. Her work emphasised how fashion can add to and complicate our views on style and identity. Vivienne Westwood managed to think outside the box whilst also referencing historical garments, and her legacy lives on. What were some of your favourite Vivienne Westwood moments? Also, check out my videos on Marc Jacobs and Tom Ford. Make sure to comment and subscribe. This is Bookstore Business, drink it in the knowledge.